Welcome back to the creepiest dark stories. Tonight, you'll hear 3 disturbing mysteries that were never fully explained. Case 01. He never left the motel. He never left the motel. In 2019, a strange disappearance took place in a small motel outside Albuquerque, New Mexico. The missing man was 34-year-old Ryan Cooper. According to motel records, Ryan checked in on a Friday night and booked a room for 3 days. He arrived alone. Nothing about him seemed unusual. He paid cash, collected his key, and went straight to his room. That was the last time anyone saw him. My name is Mark, and I was working the front desk that weekend. Around midnight, Ryan came downstairs looking nervous. He asked if anyone had been asking about him. I told him no. Then he looked through the front window and stood there silently for almost a minute. Before going back upstairs, he said something strange. "If anyone asks for me, tell them I'm not here." I assumed he was hiding from someone. The next morning, he never came out of his room. The cleaning staff knocked several times. No answer. By Sunday evening, his car was still parked outside. His room remained locked from the inside. The motel manager finally unlocked the door. The room was empty. Ryan was gone. His phone was on the bed. His wallet was on the table. His car keys were beside the television. Everything was there except Ryan. Police arrived within an hour. At first, detectives believed he had simply left. But there was one problem. Security cameras covered every exit. When officers reviewed the footage, they saw Ryan enter his room on Friday night. They never saw him leave. Not through the front entrance, not through the back entrance, not through any emergency exit. It was as if he had disappeared inside the room. Investigators searched the building from top to bottom. Nothing, no evidence. No fingerprints besides Ryan's and the motel staff. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no clues. The case quickly became local news. Weeks passed, then months. Ryan Cooper remained missing. Nearly a year later, a detective received an anonymous phone call. The caller claimed Ryan had been terrified before checking into the motel. According to the caller, Ryan believed someone was following him. Police traced the call, but the number was disconnected. The investigation went nowhere. To this day, Ryan Cooper has never been found. No body, no suspect, no explanation. The security footage still exists. It clearly shows him entering the room, but it never shows him leaving. And that's what makes this case so disturbing. Somewhere between checking in and checking out, Ryan Cooper simply vanished, and no one knows where he went. The Last Gas Station. In 2021, I was driving through a remote highway in Nevada. It was almost midnight. The road was completely empty. No cars, no lights, nothing. After several hours of driving, I noticed my fuel gauge was nearly empty. A few miles later, I spotted an old gas station sitting alone beside the highway. The place looked abandoned. The sign was broken. Half the lights didn't work, but the fuel pumps were still on. I pulled in. As soon as I stepped out of my car, I felt something strange. The entire place was silent. No traffic, no insects, not even the sound of the wind. I walked toward the small store beside the pumps. Inside, an elderly man stood behind the counter. He didn't greet me. He didn't smile. He just stared. I paid for gas and asked if there was a town nearby. The man slowly shook his head. Then he said something that immediately made me uncomfortable. "You shouldn't be driving tonight." I laughed nervously. Why not? The old man looked toward the dark highway outside. Then he replied, because someone has been following the road for years. I thought he was joking. I thanked him and left. A few minutes later, I was back on the highway. The road stretched endlessly into the darkness. Then I checked my rearview mirror. A vehicle was behind me. Its headlights were off. I hadn't seen it leave the gas station. In fact, I hadn't seen it anywhere all night. The car stayed the same distance behind me for nearly 20 minutes. No matter how fast I drove, no matter how slow I drove, it never got closer. It never fell behind. Then suddenly, it disappeared. I looked again. Nothing. The road behind me was empty. I felt relieved. Until my phone rang. The number was unknown. When I answered, there was only static. Then a voice whispered, "Don't stop driving." The call ended. My heart was racing. I pressed harder on the gas pedal. About 30 minutes later, I finally reached a small town. The first thing I saw was a police station. I immediately pulled over and told an officer everything. The officer listened quietly. Then he asked me a question. "Did you stop at the old gas station on Route 50? I nodded. The officer's face changed. He told me that station had burned down nearly 10 years ago. Nobody had worked there since. I laughed and said that was impossible. I had just been there. The officer didn't answer. Instead, he opened a drawer and showed me an old newspaper clipping. The photo showed the exact gas station I had visited. Destroyed by fire. Abandoned. Gone. To this day, I still don't know who I met that night, or who was following me on that empty highway. But one thing is certain. Whenever I drive through Nevada after dark, I never stop for gas on Route 50. The voicemail. In 2020, a woman named Sarah reported her husband missing in Portland, Oregon. His name was Michael Reed. According to police, Michael left work at 6:14 p.m. and started driving home. He never arrived. His phone stopped responding. His bank accounts were untouched. His vehicle was nowhere to be found. At first, detectives assumed he had been involved in an accident. But days passed without a single lead. Then something strange happened. 3 days after Michael disappeared, Sarah received a voicemail. The message was only 11 seconds long. At first, it sounded like static. Then she heard Michael's voice. "Sarah, don't answer the door." The message ended. Police examined the recording. It had been sent from Michael's phone. The problem was that his phone had been inactive for 3 days. Investigators searched nearby forests, highways, and abandoned properties. Nothing. Weeks later, a hunter discovered Michael's truck parked deep inside a remote area, nearly 50 miles from where he was last seen. The doors were locked. The keys were still inside. There were no signs of a struggle. No fingerprints except Michael's. No evidence of another person. But police found one disturbing detail. The truck's dashboard camera had recorded a final video. The footage showed Michael parked alone on an empty road shortly after sunset. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Michael suddenly looked toward the trees. His expression changed. He appeared frightened. Seconds later, he stepped out of the truck and walked toward the forest. The camera continued recording. Michael never returned. Police searched the exact location shown in the video. No footprints, no clothing, no body, nothing. Months later, the case went cold. To this day, Michael Reed remains missing. His voicemail is still considered one of the strangest pieces of evidence in the investigation, because experts could never explain how a message from his phone was sent 3 days after he vanished. and nobody knows who or what Michael saw in those woods that evening.